Hollow Knight is one of my favourite ever games. There's something incredibly magical about the experience. In fact, as you watch this video right now, I'm currently working on and editing a new video about why I think that the original Hollow Knight is a masterpiece. I have played it so many times, and each and every time I feel like I'm discovering something new, and I fall in love all over again. But this video is not about the original Hollow Knight. Instead, it's about the sequel, Hollow Knight Silksong. And every now and then it dawns on me that it has been nearly a year since any kind of official announcement, aside from the riddles, that we have got from Team Cherry. And it leaves me feeling every time kind of empty. I was scrabbling for a word that I wasn't going to use the word hollow, but that's kind of how I feel. I didn't want to make a cheap joke, but I do feel hollow. But I have to ask that question. Where is Hollow Knight Silksong? Where is it? Hello everybody. I'm Roy McCoy and welcome to my latest video, and this time I'm talking about everything we know about Hollow Knight Silksong. So first of all, we'll be talking about the facts, what we do really know, and then after that we'll be talking about the development cycle and the news since that initial announcement. And also towards the end of the video, I'll be focusing on a few things that happened recently that got people really excited, including things on Discord and a few messages. And right at the end, I'll be making a little bit of speculation about when we could be possibly hearing something or seeing the final game. But of course, that part of the video is all about trying to start a conversation down in the comments below about the things you want to see when you think this game could be coming. Because after all, it is just my opinion and I want to hear yours too. Please remember to hit that like button because it helps the video to really do well. Okay, let's dive into what it is. So, the original Hollow Knight released back in 2017 and was developed by Team Cherry, which consisted of 2 developers. It was partially funded on Kickstarter, and every time I play this game I can feel the passion, something rivaled by the passion that was put into Stardew Valley for me. Hollow Knight was followed up by 4 pieces of DLC. And after initially releasing on the PC, it later came to the Mac, the Nintendo Switch, and then much later the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And the reason that I mentioned the DLC is because that Silksong was originally planned to be a piece of DLC. However, as the game got bigger and bigger and bigger, the team realised that this piece of art would work better as a game in its own right. And on February the 14th, 2019, we got the announcement that Hollow Knight Silksong would be the official sequel to the original brilliance of Hollow Knight. The game itself will focus on the protagonist of Hornet, the protector princess of Hallownest, who appeared in the first game. In Silksong, we will be transported to a completely new kingdom, and where in the previous game you were going deeper and descending down into the depths of the kingdom, this time you will be ascending to the shining citadel at the top of the world to discover why your protagonist, Hornet, was captured and transported to this whole new kingdom that, according to the website, features coral forests, mossy grottos, gilded city, and misted moors. One thing that's also been confirmed is that the initial releases will be on PC, Mac, and Switch, and that other versions may come later, and of course they'll have their minds set on coding for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, but they do state that porting takes time, and of course it's new technology, so it completely makes sense why they wouldn't necessarily state that they're initially going to work on the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, because it could be difficult, it could take a long time, so of course they're going to wait and get those other versions out first. So to summarise the game features that we know, it'll be a whole new kingdom, as I've already said. The combat will be more fluid and acrobatic, and if you remember fighting against Hornet, you'll remember just how much you moved around and jumped. There's also some element of weapon crafting, building traps and mechanisms, and also there is some kind of quest structure. We also know there'll be some kind of mapping system once more, and to be honest, I know some people are a bit divided on this, but I'd be really happy to see a similar structure mapping that was seen in the first game, and I would be really happy to see the return of geos, and I know that's a little bit of a divisive point. Another interesting thing is that there will be dialogue this time, so it will not be a silent protagonist. And finally, healing. And unlike in the first game when the knight heals themselves by using and focusing soul that has been taken from defeated enemies, in Silksong, Hornet will heal herself through the silk that she produces. In the original video, we're also promised 150 new creatures, new enemies, beasts, monsters, boss fights. However, as later stated in a blog post, this was a conservative estimate and have revealed up to 165 characters, and probably that will be growing and growing, because it does seem, from my experience of what I can understand from Team Cherry, that these guys cannot stop building. And of course, a wonderful piece of news is that Christopher Larkin, who composed the beautiful and moving soundtrack of the original game, will be returning once more. So that was the initial announcement, but as I said, there have been several updates since then, with them revealing new characters in March of 2019, and of course in June 2019 at E3, we finally got to see some gameplay, and of the footage that you can watch, the game looks magnificent. It looks familiar but new. And that brings us to the 13th of December 2019, almost a year ago to the day, when we got our last blog post on the official Team Cherry website. And it was basically just a happy Christmas, happy holidays, a summary of the year, a time to say thank you, and also, as I said, to reveal those new characters, number 163, 164 and 165, and while they released no names, it was enough of a teaser to get people excited. And they also confirmed that the game has been building and building and building, however they have not lost their eye on the story and have always had a clear narrative structure, so they're not building for the sake of building, and that they had a clear goal and narrative in mind. And that's it. That's pretty much our last official word for a year. The blog has been empty, the Twitter feed has been pretty much just retweets, and there has been very little news about this game, apart from a series of riddles in which they released the name of a new character. And also a piece of beautiful, heartwarming, and also very sad news, because a young person called Seth Goldman, who was a huge Hollow Knight fan, and sadly suffering from a particularly aggressive form of cancer, got to meet Team Cherry and talk to them and ask them about his favourite game after a charity called the Marty Lyons Foundation made his dream to meet them come true. Now, at this point, I'm going to say I have a huge amount of respect for Team Cherry. All that Seth wanted was to meet the team. However, during their meeting, during their conversations, Team Cherry offered him the opportunity to design and create a character that would go into the game along with the team. And he created the character of Seth, who will be a monster. Now, Team Cherry didn't need to do this, but to design a character to become immortalized in this game was a touch of class. Now, tragically, Seth's life was cut short and passed away this year, so he will never get to see the character that he created in the game. But I have to say, as news stories from games go, while it is incredibly sad about the news about Seth, Team Cherry has shown a level of class that I haven't seen in the world for a very long time. So that's pretty much everything we know about this game. Now, I mentioned at the start of this video that quite a few fans recently got very excited because a few things happened that made people think that we were going to get some news. And I have to admit, I also got really excited by this news, but let's have a look at what it is. Basically, the first piece of news that got people excited is that the developers were on Discord at the same time for the first time in a very, very long time. And while that could be a signal that we're going to get some news, it could also be them just testing passwords, making sure things still work. Of course, I talked about 2 developers. We're now looking at 3 developers after a 3rd person joined the team. But anyway, the vision of them both online at the same time really did get the community racing. However, we can't draw that much into it at the moment. Another thing that sort of lit up the community was that Team Cherry replied to a fan and confirmed that the game is still going ahead, they're still working very hard on the game, and that they are currently finishing it. Which again is an exciting piece of news, but of course they're still working on the game, and of course they're still finishing it. This game was in a playable state in 2019, so at this moment in time, without any official announcement, who knows how long it's going to take them to finish it. Now, I'm not trying to be negative here, I'm incredibly hopeful that we're going to hear something very soon, and I'll tell you why, but I'm not quite sure that this is something we should draw on. And the last thing that got the Hollow Knight fans really excited was a reply that mentioned the name Hornet. However, in this sense, Hornet is a YouTube content creator, and they were merely just replying to that content creator. If you take it at face value, you can't draw much into it. So now let's move on to the kind of more speculation area. Over the last, say, year, or even since February the 14th, since Valentine's Day, since this game was announced, there has been a number of false dawns where people thought they were getting some information and it didn't happen. And consistently along the way, in pretty much every post that they've written or made, Team Cherry have stated that they hope to give us information soon. However, recently they stated that they would not be giving a release date very soon. Now, as I said, there's been a few false dawns. For example, when Hollow Knight Voidheart Edition became a free game on PlayStation Plus, I was kind of hoping for a big announcement or a big piece of news, but it didn't come. However, as I said earlier in the video, the last official blog post was on the 13th of December 2019, and we are coming up to an anniversary, and a lot of people have bandied around the date 13th of December as the day we're getting the game. And I'm pretty sure with the activity on Discord, the recent replies, it does show that at least they're using these accounts again, and sometimes when a company is about to make an announcement, they start checking and confirming that their passwords are still working. So let's make that final speculation. When could we see Hollow Knight Silksong? The original game was released in February 2017. There were several versions after that, including the Xbox and PlayStation version in 2018. There was a steady trickle of DLC through 2017 and 2018, and somewhere along the way they started working on Hollow Knight Silksong. The bigger it got, and the fact it was set in a new kingdom, at some point they also decided that Silksong should be a game in its own right, and made that announcement in 2019 in February. So the original game took around 3 years to develop, from 2014 to 2017. You have to assume now that they're more au fait with the technology, that they know what they're doing, and that the fact that the gameplay was ready in June 2019 suggests that they were aiming for sometime in 2020. However, this year has been a strange old year, and many studios around the world, and I know there's only 2 or 3 of them as there is now, but you still can't doubt the fact that coronavirus, the pandemic, will have had an impact. And there have been some restrictions in Australia, where the team is based. So quite possibly that would have put the game back a little bit. So a wild speculation, I say that we could see this game in early to mid 2021. Let me know in the comments below when you think this game is coming and what you hope to see. But of course, the one thing we need to take away from it is that patience is a virtue. And I was never sure if their social media, their interaction with the world is brilliant or frustrating, because while we don't get much, when we do get something, it is an incredible sensation. And I am patiently waiting for new announcements and new pieces of news. And as I said before, I totally trust Team Cherry, and I know that when this game comes, it will be polished, it will be beautiful, and it will be amazing, and it will be worth waiting for. And while I want to know where it is, I'm happy to know that it's in the hands of those 3 developers. Let me know if there's any other games or series that you'd like me to cover in my Where Is or What Happened To videos. But for today, this is Roy McCoy, out!